Hello, welcome back to AS Trends. Today we are tackling a critical topic that is national emergency. What exactly happens when a country declares a national emergency? Who makes that call? And what powers do they have? Let's dive deeply into the issue. What is a national emergency? A state of emergency is declared in response to a significant threat facing a nation, whether originating from within its borders or from external forces. Article 352 to Article 354 in Part 18 of the Indian Constitution deals with the national emergency. What are the grounds for the proclamation of national emergency? When security of India or any part of India is threatened due to number 1 war or number 2 external aggression, which means use of armed forces of one country against another country without formal declaration. For example, in 1962, Chinese aggression in the northeastern frontier agency region in India, the present Arunachal Pradesh, or number 3 armed rebellion. Then the president has the power to order the national emergency on written request of the Union Cabinet. How many times national emergency was imposed in India? National emergencies have been imposed 3 times in India since our independence. For the first time, Jawaharlal Nehru had declared the emergency during the war with China in 1962 on the grounds of external aggression. For the second time, Indira Gandhi had declared the emergency during the war with Pakistan in 1971 on the grounds of external aggression. Even when this emergency was in operation, the third proclamation was made in June 1975. This last episode was the most infamous and controversial in the annals of our democracy. This year, 2024, marks the beginning of the 50th year since the imposition of national emergency in 1975. The then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi imposed a 21 months national emergency citing internal disturbances in India. President Fakhruddin issued the order under Article 352 of the Constitution. What are those internal disturbances that forced Indira Gandhi to declare a national emergency in India? Number 1. Nirman agitation in Gujarat by students and middle class people against economic crisis and corruption in public life. Number 2. Nationwide protests and movements such as Jayaprakash Narayan's Sampurna Kranti or Total Revolution against Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's government. Number 3. The railway strike spearheaded by George Fernandez in 1974. Number 4. Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan case. In this landmark decision, the Allahabad High Court ruled against Indira Gandhi, finding her culpable of electoral malpractices and subsequently nullifying her victory in the 1971 elections. Whether these events really a threat to the internal security of India? Probably no. It is a purely personal agenda where it affected the whole nation very adversely. Then what are those adverse effects of this national emergency? Number 1. Centralization of power. The 38th and 42nd Constitutional Amendment Acts were passed to limit the power of the judiciary and concentrated power in the hands of executive organ of the government. Number 2. Arbitrary arrests and detentions. The Maintenance of Internal Security Act (MISA) was amended to imprison any person who opposed the government without trial. For example, key political figures such as Atal Bihari Vajpayee, L.K. Advani, Jayaprakash Narayan, Morarji Desai, etc. were imprisoned when national emergency was just declared. Number 3. The press faced severe censorship. The major newspaper offices experienced electricity supply disruptions as a tactic to limit their ability to operate effectively. Critical voices were silenced and many publications were shut down. The Indian Express published a blank editorial in protest. Number 4. Human rights violation. Sanjay Gandhi, son of Indira Gandhi, led a program of forced mass sterilization, mainly aimed at the low income population. An astonishing 6.2 million Indian men were sterilized in just a year, and 2,000 men died from the unsuccessful operations. Number 5. Suspension of civil liberties and fundamental rights. Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer says, the liberties of the individual are not mere privileges, they are the essence of human dignity. However, during this emergency period, basic fundamental rights like the right to freedom of speech and expression, the right to assemble peacefully, and the right to personal liberty were suspended unethically. Both the second and third national emergencies were revoked in March 1977. There was widespread criticism of the misuse of national emergency powers by the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. In the elections held to the Lok Sabha in 1977, after the emergency, the Congress party led by Indira Gandhi lost her election and Janata Party came into the power. This government appointed the Shah Commission to investigate the circumstances that warranted the declaration of an emergency in 1975. The commission did not justify the declaration of this emergency. The commission found that the declaration of the emergency was not justified by any actual threat to the nation's security or internal stability of our country. It concluded that the emergency was declared primarily to protect Indira Gandhi's position following the adverse court judgment against her. What are the aftermath safeguards introduced against the misuse of emergency provisions? Number 1. Constitutional safeguards. The 43rd and 44th constitutional amendments were enacted to restore and refine the original spirit of the Constitution. For example, the term internal disturbance had been replaced with armed rebellion as a criterion for declaring an emergency. Number 2. Judicial review. The 44th Constitutional Amendment Act 1978 restored the ability of the judiciary to review the decision of declaration of a national emergency. In Minerva Mills case 1980, the Supreme Court upheld the same. Number 3. Electoral reforms. It is to enhance the transparency and fairness of India's electoral process. Election Commission of India was made a multi-member body with 3 election commissioners to reduce excessive influence of the political parties. The introduction of the Model Code of Conduct emerged as a cornerstone reform. Number 4. Civil society mobilization. The declaration of emergency in India motivated civil society, amplifying its role in safeguarding and advocating for democratic principles. For example, People's Union for Civil Liberties. To conclude, the legacy of the emergency is not merely a historical footnote, but a living testament to the enduring struggle for justice, dignity, and the preservation of democratic values. It underscores the imperative for each generation to remain vigilant guardians of democracy, ensuring that such dark chapters are never repeated and that the rights and freedoms of all citizens are perpetually upheld and protected. Jai Hind. Hit the subscribe button now and never miss out on the topics everyone is talking about.